Evening guys, a little bit of downtime tonight again, so thought I'd grab another board out of the garage and give you a rundown on something else that's a bit different, a little bit special, not too many of these around. This is the CJ Nelson Aussie Slasher. It's the 9.4 Aussie Slasher, so it's 9.4 23 3 1/4. It's also affectionately known as Colonel Mustard because it's got this lovely, I'm told it's a mustard resin tint, but I'm pretty colourblind, so it looks kind of mustardy. Yeah, and this is in the XEON technology. So this is the new epoxy that some of the guys like Guy Takayama and the CJ Nelson, some people are coming out with these boards now in this technology. The technology is EPS core. I think it's hand finished, and then there's like a fiberglass stringer layup inside it, and then I think there's a couple of strips as well. So the flex is tuned. Like a lot of the epoxies are getting quite clever with the flex tuning now to take away some of the negatives of epoxy and get some of the positives of poly. And these are also weight tuned specifically to the board and what they want it to do. So it's quite interesting. These are probably the first range of epoxy traditional style longboards that are actually carrying quite a bit of weight for the momentum. Obviously CJ Nelson's a really good rider, and you know, he when he's logging, I'm guessing he doesn't want a super light board either, not too light. So yeah, these are the compromise to give you that traditional kind of feel of weight, but with the performance and the slightly lighter weight of the epoxy and the pop and the spring and the twang and everything else that epoxies have. Now it's really nice. This is, you probably can't see on the camera, but this is actually a beautiful board. This is the cloth that's in there is it's almost like a traditional cloth in terms of its thickness. You can actually see the resin pigment through it. You can see the weave of the cloth and the resin pigment in it. So you know, it pretty much looks like a traditional board. It's lighter than a polyester board, and it's more flexible than the most standard polyester boards, I would say. You know, the flex is engineered. Why this came about was basically just got back into longboarding. I'd got my Firewire wing nut in the TimberTech, which you see a review for on the channel. And I wanted something a bit more traditional, and I've been looking at one of the polyester shapes from my local shaper. He's really good as well. And I just wasn't really ready for the heavier poly boards, because I've ridden some of my mates and like, they felt so heavy. I'd heard a lot of good things about these Kelly outlines. So the supposedly the California outline is the you know, you've got this hip at the back of the tail, a bit like shortboards have these days, and then a lot of the width is further back off where you're turning and pivoting, and then the nose actually goes quite straight and narrows down to the nose at the front. You know, I think there's some pig inspiration in that shape as well, supposedly, but I'm not mega, you know, I'm not super up on the longboard technologies, but yeah, so when I saw this in the shop, I really liked the outline, and then I saw a video of how, CJ Nelson manages to surf it. You know, and that's not a good indicator, because he's one of the best surfers, he's one of the best longboarders there is. But the way he was managing to throw this one around, you know, he's got like the classic model, and that looked like it was turning good, but a lot slower than this. And this for a bigger board he was turning it really well. I was like, wow, you know, looks really good. And then I saw it in the shop, and I really liked the outline. I was a little bit concerned about the bottom, because the bottom's quite a belly bottom. But yeah, it works really good. Hey, it give you, if you want to learn some more traditional riding, it's still the sort of board that you need to walk around a bit, which is kind of what I was aiming for, but not too unuser friendly. So you know, like my wing nut, you can pretty much ride it off the tail, and you don't have to adjust too much. This you have to change a little bit, but it's a really nice board. So yeah, it's an interesting shape. As I say, you got this Kelly outline. The rails are quite rounded here. They're almost quite an eggy rail. I wouldn't even say they're a 50-50. The tail sharpens up quite nicely and thins out a little bit. The nose is quite thin. There is no concave under the nose. The bottom's a belly bottom, which say I wasn't so sure about, but I'll talk about that a bit more in a wee while. and I believe they call it the reverse rocker. So you'll see, I'll just plop it up to the rocker, I'll pick it up properly in a second, but you'll see, so from the rocker you'll see the nose is relatively straight rocker, and when you put it on the ground, there's probably like 2 or 3 inches in the nose rocker, but the tail's got quite a lot of flip. Now I believe the design intent behind that is that the water comes and wraps around this tail, which is already rocketed and high in the water, and the rocker, just as well as allowing you to turn quite easily, it actually pushes the tail down, which gives you some stability up on the nose, and I would say that works. Let's try and pick it up without bouncing anything. So that's the rocker profile there. And as I say, it fins up in the nose, but it's very stable on the nose. It's really fast. One of the things I noticed about this whole belly bottom was when you're in really small conditions, it actually seems to be quite efficient and get going quite quickly, and then as the conditions get bigger, it's almost like there's a speed limit on it. So all this rounded belly in the board, it makes it super easy to turn. Honestly, that's one of the big things. I've played around with various fins, and that's the 975 Drawers Marshall. That works really good for me. But I've even put like some of the big hatchets in it. It doesn't hinder the turning performance of the board half as much as you would think, which is like really bizarre. And like I say, once you get on a bigger wave, it catches waves really easy, and then once you're on a bigger wave, this whole bottom, because you're not creating lift, apparently you're more the hole's trying to cut through the water. So what seems to happen is it seems to be very efficient at making water wrap around it. So when you're riding and you're standing there, you never outrun a section. So this is how some of the traditional single fins, I believe, used to be. So you're almost getting held up and sucked back into the pocket, which is not something you necessarily used to, but it's actually quite a cool experience, because you sort of surf and stay in the pocket. If you just stand on it, you can almost stay in the pocket, because it won't really outrun sections. It'll just stay nicely in tune with the wave. So that's pretty cool. That makes you be in tune with the wave when you're surfing as well. So yeah, just if you can see, maybe you can see a bit more of the whole bottom. It's probably quite hard to see, but it's a very belly bottom. Let's pop it down there, and yeah, it's definitely quite. I was quite surprised. Hey, it's a you do have to walk around on it a bit, and it is more of a traditional ride, but it's not as clunky and loggy as some of the polys that I've ridden and tried. And yeah, obviously it's shaped by, it's CJ Nelson's input, but it's actually shaped by Ian Chisholm from South Coast Surfboards. That's over in Aussie, and I think he's pretty well renowned for being an absolutely amazing shaper. So yeah, that's the CJ Nelson Aussie Slasher. You got 9.4. This one is 9.4, 23 1/4, 3 1/4, and it's in the XEON technology. You can get this in the 9.10 as well, and there's a couple of other models. As you can see, it's not heavy, but it's not super light. It's nothing like it's nothing like the lightness of like a Firewire Timbertech or something like that. So if you're looking for something more traditional, but you're not into the really heavy poly boards and really piggy boards that are very clunky and hard to turn. Some people love those. They've definitely got something special about them, but it's a lot of if you're working your way towards that, this is the kind of board that turns easy, catches waves like crazy easy. It allows you to get up near the nose quite easily. Say once the water starts wrapping around that tail, it's really good in a small wave, and then when the waves pick up a little bit, it's just got that, so like I say, you end up being sucked back into the pocket and you just stay there, and it's quite a nice feeling. So I'd probably say you'd ride this in literally ankle high slop if you wanted to. I've not ridden it in huge stuff, but you can ride it in. I've probably ridden it in I've ridden it in just a bit overhead. Where it's really nice is very small clean, or chest high peeling point waves. It'd just be brilliant. You stand on this. It's just if you want to feel the glide. That's what longboarding is all about. If you want to feel the glide and something a bit traditional, this is really cool. So yeah, there's not that many of them around. If you're in Aussie, you can probably get hand shaped one in poly. You can get these XEONs, they're a bit more limited and they're not the cheapest, but yeah, it's quite a cool technology. It's got some flex to it. It looks like a traditional board. You know, you could be riding an epoxy and you could be riding this in the traditional competitions, and we just had the single thing mingle here in Sumner, which is, you know, this local guys put on. It's a really cool event, and you know, well done guys. They've done an absolutely cracking job of getting people in from local and overseas and make it inclusive for families and people. So yeah, if you ever get a chance to come down, if you're in Christchurch or New Zealand, I mean, people come over from America now, and it's really gained some momentum. And I actually noticed a lot of the really gun riders are actually riding these sort of belly bottom boards now, and yeah, it's taking a bit of getting used to, but it's definitely a cool feeling. I mean, I'm no hipster by any means, but but yeah, I wanted to have a go at something a bit more traditional, and this has been a cracker for it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the review, and yeah, if you go on the CJ Nelson website, you can see the different models, and like I say, it's hard to see from a wee way up, but you know, you've got this beautiful cloth, you can see the weave through it. You've got, it looks like a pigmented resin tint in polyester, but it's not. So yeah, cracking board. If you fancying something like this, it's traditional, a bit lighter, but still got the momentum and the traditional ride. Thoroughly recommend one of these if you can find one. All right, cheers guys. Yeah.